Two suspects, separate rooms. Each holds the fate of the other in their hands. If both stay silent, cooperate, they both walk free together. If one betrays while the other stays loyal, the betrayer wins everything while the loyal one loses everything. If both betray, they both lose. This is the prisoner's dilemma, and whether you realize it or not, you're playing it right now. In the 1950s, mathematicians from the Rand Corporation have formalized something humans have understood for millennia. Every interaction where two people must trust each other is a form of a game. Not a game like chess, where you can see every piece, but a game where you have to invest in someone without knowing if they'll invest back. A game of trust. In relationships, this plays out every single day. Mutual cooperation. Both partners invest, both partners receive. Emotional needs met, physical needs met. Spiritual connection maintained. This is love functioning as it should. Exploitation. One partner gives everything, the other takes without giving. The giver exhausts themselves, while the taker thrives temporarily. This dynamic is called the anxious-avoidant trap. Mutual defection. Both partners withhold, both partners protect themselves. Neither gives, neither receives. The relationship becomes a cold war of self-preservation. It continues until it ends, or worse, it continues being a hollow shell. But here's what makes relationships different from a single prisoner's dilemma. You don't play it once. You play it every single day for the rest of your life. Game theorists call this iterated prisoner's dilemma, and this approach changes everything. Rationally, you should never cooperate first. You should never give without receiving. Think about it. You're about to invest your emotional energy, your resources, your vulnerability, and potentially years of your life into another person without any evidence. From a pure game theory perspective, this is completely insane and irrational. So evolution gave us a hack, a neurochemical override that allows us to invest without evidence, a temporary insanity that makes cooperation feel not just possible, but inevitable. We call it limerence, that intoxicating early phase of a relationship, typically lasting 18 to 36 months, isn't just pleasant, it's functional. It solves the trust problem. During limerence, your brain is flooded with dopamine, causing obsessive focus on your partner. Norepinephrine heightens everything. Every touch electric, every absence painful. Serotonin actually drops, mimicking patterns of OCD, making you unable to stop thinking about them. This neurochemical cocktail does something remarkable. It makes you willing to cooperate without evidence. You invest emotionally before you know they'll invest back. You make yourself vulnerable before you know it's safe. You cooperate first because chemistry blinds you to the risk. But limerence fades, always. The question is, what happens when this chemical blindfold is off? People don't all respond the same way. Attachment theory tells us, based on early experiences, that each of us has developed their own way to play this game. Think of this as the four players at the table. The secure player. The secure player learned early that cooperation is rewarded. They give freely and expect to receive, not naively, but based on evidence. When their partner defects, they address it directly rather than retaliating or withholding. In game theory terms, they play tit for tat with forgiveness. The strategy that in computer simulations, over thousands of iterations, consistently wins. Let's call them a healthy baseline. The anxious player. The anxious player cooperates relentlessly, regardless of what they receive back. They overinvest, they pursue, they give, hoping that eventually their partner will give back. This sounds loving. It isn't. It's a strategy born from fear. Fear that if they stop giving, they'll be abandoned. So they cooperate even when being exploited. The game theory term for this is always cooperate. It's exploitable and it attracts exploiters. The avoidant player learned that cooperation leads to pain. They protect themselves by withholding, keeping emotional distance, avoiding vulnerability, and keeping exit options. They might stay in relationships, but they never fully invest. They keep one foot out the door. When their partner reaches for connection, they pull back. This is the always defect strategy. Or more accurately, defect preemptively. They defect. They betray before they can get betrayed. The disorganized player. The disorganized player has no consistent strategy. They oscillate between desperate cooperation and then sudden withdrawal. They want intimacy and fear it simultaneously. In game theory terms, this is random, and random strategies cannot build the patterns of reciprocity that relationships require. Their partners never know which version they'll get. Unpredictability destroys trust, and without trust, cooperation becomes impossible. Now, let's watch the dynamics when the players meet and play together. Secure meets secure, mutual cooperation. Stable, boring to describe, beautiful to live. Secure meets anxious or avoidant. The secure player's consistency often helps to regulate the other. Those relationships can work. But anxious meets avoidant, this is a trap. The anxious player gives more, pursuing, reaching, chasing. The avoidant partner, overwhelmed, defects, distancing, withholding, withdrawing. The pursuit triggers the withdrawal triggers the pursuit. Psychologists call this the demand-withdraw pattern. It's one of the most robust predictors of relationship failure. And here's the cruel irony, that anxious and avoidant partners are intensely attracted to each other. The anxious partner mistakes the avoidance partner distance for mystery. The avoidant partner mistakes the anxious partner's intensity for passion. Limerence masks the incompatibility until it doesn't. So the question is this game deterministic? Are we locked into patterns we learned before we could even speak? No, and here's why. Attachment style theory describes default strategies, but emotional intelligence determines whether or not you can override your defaults. Research across 138 studies with over 64,000 participants shows that emotional intelligence highly correlates with relationship satisfaction. It allows you to recognize your own patterns before they sabotage you. Regulate your impulses when fear tells you to pursue or withdraw. Perceive your partner's emotions accurately, not through the distortion of your own anxiety. Express your needs clearly instead of acting them out. Maintain empathy even during conflict. But here's what's even more powerful. When you both understand your profile and your partner's profile, you can see the game before you even play it. The TQ Compatibility Report analyzes how two emotional signatures interact. It reveals whether your patterns are complementary, where one partner's strengths offset the other's vulnerabilities, or if you're heading towards the demand-withdraw trap. Shape compatibility matters more than similarity. Two people with identical strengths and weaknesses have no one to compensate for when things get hard. Two people with different profiles but with complementary patterns can cover for each other's blind spots. Pair bonding isn't magic. It's not fate. It's not finding the one. It's the result of successful attraction, negotiation, and maintenance. It requires satisfying each other's emotional, spiritual, and physical needs. The prisoner's dilemma is only a dilemma when you don't know the game you're playing, where you don't know your own pattern and can't read your partner's pattern. But when you understand the game, see the patterns, and develop the facets that support cooperation, and identify whether your partnership is complementary, the dilemma dissolves. Not because trust becomes unnecessary, but rather because it becomes informed. 50% of marriages end in divorce, but that statistic includes people playing blind. People caught in the anxious-avoidant trap without even knowing it. People whose shape compatibility was low from the start. People who never developed their emotional intelligence to override their defaults. What if you could see the game before committing to it? What if you could develop the facets that support mutual cooperation? What if you could develop the facets that make mutual cooperation sustainable? What if instead of playing Prisoner's Dilemma, you could play a different game entirely? That's the promise of understanding trait emotional intelligence. Not certainty. Relationships are too complex for that. But clarity, direction. The difference between playing blind and playing to win. Explore the TQ Compatibility Toolkit on tq.com. Understand your patterns, see if they complement your partners. Or if you're still searching, understand what you're looking for before Limerence blinds you to what you're actually getting. I hope you enjoyed this segment. Stay tuned and keep in touch.